We're going to mix the player 1 and have player 1 tracked in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll it, mix.
Coming up tonight on UCBS News, a gold mine explosion happened in Burkina Faso. We have the details.
Stand by, 2 bucks.
Yeah, what do you watch?
Nothing right now.
Year after Ahmed Arbery's death.
I'm only listening.
Oh, watch the audio.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, yeah, unlatch the
An
audio.
update on the crisis in Ukraine.
10,
Oh, no, like watch the audio. There you go.
Stand by track anchors. You can track anchors now.
Oh, watch. We only want Steven.
And mix.
Yes, we only
Bring
want
in
Steven.
font 2, CG2.
Tonight we start out with developing news out of Ukraine, where President Biden has moved troops into the eastern front of Europe. I'm Adam Larson.
This comes after Russia's advancement into eastern Ukraine, and many
Stand by
European
developing
leaders
news.
are confirming a mass movement of the Russian military. I'm Kirby Schmidt.
And developing news. And Adam.
President Joe Biden
Stand by
says
package
he
coming
does
out
not
of
have
player
any
2.
plans to fight
Stand by to
Russia,
track
but
player
will
2.
be ready if it comes to it. CBS correspondent Charlie DeGayer has more on the situation
And
in Ukraine.
effects. Roll it. Track it.
Good morning. We are at a
start.
tank factory here in the capital. It's here that they service
Space bar to package.
fresh
Oh, are we
from the
live?
front line.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah. Some of it is combat damage.
210.
They're
Everything going
already
quick today.
working overtime.
Can we get space bar to package, please?
Spacebar. Spacebar.
With diplomatic talks up
So the
in
big thing is
flames,
make sure you
the
do that every
threat
time.
of wider
Okay, so
sanctions
this
alone is
won't-
the only thing standing
No,
in
it
the
won't
way of
unreal
Russia's
mine.
negotiation.
Our
Threats that
Yeah,
have so
not
far
by
been
Stand by, Adam, with the outro.
dramatic
Okay, cool.
And then
escalation.
we
And
watch.
then she is at
Okay.
weather cam.
I have
Yes.
bad feelings, says Luhansk President Tatiana. I
But whether
feel the burden
TFS.
in my soul, it's very difficult.
What is weather cam?
It's about to
After
get
this
more
package, we're going to
difficult.
go back to
With
Adam
Russian
for the
lawmakers
outro of the
getting
story.
Vladimir
Then we're going to
Putin
do
go
the
ahead
first
to
weather
use
splash
military
to
force outside
Jalen
his
at
country,
the weather wall.
the gloves
Minute
are
30.
off. These satellite photos are here to show the deployment of more than 100 military vehicles and dozens of tents for troops along the border of Belarus. And Russian forces have been seen advancing toward the battlefields of the separatist regions in eastern Ukraine. At least Putin can no longer hide behind Russian-backed rebels, says political analyst Taras Berezovitz.
There are now no more Russian proxies, no more Russian-backed separatists. It's only Russia. So Russia is fully responsible
I should
for
do a
whatever
package fully
happens now
explaining
in
the Russia
Western world.
situation.
Completely. No any proxies.
Time, please.
Putin can point
50
to himself.
seconds.
It's not me.
Wow.
No Russian troops.
Ukrainian President
Is there a pad on
Volodymyr
this?
Zelensky
Yes, there's a
called on
little
reservists
bit of
to
pad.
get
Okay.
ready to fight.
I was so
Someone
happy with
Ukraine
CBS that they
is a
did that.
peaceful nation. He said, "We want calm, but if we keep silent now, we will be extinct tomorrow."
Can I get a
Which makes the
30,
work here at
20,
the
10
tank
down count,
that
please?
much more
30 seconds.
They need every tank and armored vehicle battle ready for the front lines, knowing full well this factory itself may be a target of full-scale invasion.
20 seconds.
We've learned that the Russian government ordered the evacuation of all embassy staff here in the
Stand by.
capital overnight, and there are reports that employees were destroying documents as they headed for the exit.
Stand by Adam.
7,
Charlie Daggett,
6,
CBS
5,
Keith,
And
Craig.
3,
take Adam.
and go.
President Biden has
Stand by
since
weather
warned
graph,
to ban
weather
further
graphics.
exports of American
Stand by first
technology
weather.
into Russia, which is a vital component to Russia's economy. This update comes shortly after yesterday's announcement to cut off
Here,
Russia
next
from
one.
Western financing.
And first weather.
Spacebar.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, is it to Kirby?
Starting off with
Nope.
the weather
Nope. Oh,
headlines,
sorry.
the snow Minnesota has been
got a
receiving
super.
the past few days tapers off and
Bring it in.
leaves us with minor and major
3,
snowfalls. As
That's,
we
that's
headed into
that
the
one
overnight
drop
hours,
it.
we experienced
You're
bitter
after,
wind chills of
Jalen.
negative 20 to negative
We got
30
after
degrees
Kirby.
across the state, leaving
Yep.
us with a wind chill advisory.
Kirby's
that
next with the
lasts
reader.
until 10 this
Kirby's
morning.
notified.
As we head into next week, we have the Arctic air back. As we look at temperatures across the Midwest, Kansas City's at 23 degrees, Chicago at 25, and as we head north, the air in Canada that is very cold is bringing it down into Minneapolis. That will be staying here for the
Hey,
next
Nora.
few days. And
Can you bring the
Minneapolis is
game
at
down
9
on Jalen a
degrees.
little bit, please?
This high pressure system
Thank
staying
you.
over Minnesota will keep bringing us that dry air for this next week. Back to you, Kirby.
And take.
Tonight we have an update on
Great job,
the
Jim.
law case. The second teen has been arrested.
This is
in
a reader.
an
Stand by
investigation.
Adam with another reader.
16-year-old boy is charged in Ramsey County Juvenile Court with aiding and abetting second-degree murder. Block's 17-year-old cousin is also charged in the January 10th killing of Otis Elder.
And take Adam.
Authorities say a 29-year-old man accused of
Reader.
15-year-old
Stand by Kirby with a VO coming out of player 1.
Cody Forenham of Minneapolis is facing 1 count of intentional second-degree murder for killing Hill Jr. Officials say it is likely that Hill was standing or walking up to a bus stop across the street from the popular corner store Wally's Foods when he was shot. 15-year-old Hill was an honor roll student at North Community High School starting quarterback. He died February 10th.
Perfect, thank you. And take Kirby.
A federal trial.
Ready, VO on a player 1.
Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights is now in the hands of the jurors as they begin their
Roll it.
deliberations.
Take it.
Alexander King, Thomas Lane, and Tao Tao are charged with depriving Floyd of his right to medical care when Derek Chauvin pressed his knee
Thank
into
you.
Floyd's neck for nearly
Go out to
9.5
Adam.
minutes.
How much time back?
King
9,
and Tao
8,
are also
7,
charged with failing
6.
to
Go back to
intervene
Kirby.
and stop Chauvin. The defense states that the officers were too
We need-
inexperienced, not
1.
properly trained,
VO needs to be
trained,
at least
and
30
willfully
seconds
violate
long.
Floyd's rights.
I don't know who made VO today, but we can't have VO that's less than 30 seconds.
Provide medical attention.
Ready, Adam, and take Adam.
Racism at a local school in southern Minnesota is forcing a Minneapolis athletics program
This is
to
a
cut
reader.
ties between
And then I got
programs.
election
The
to
St.
Kirby.
Louis Park athletic director
This
says
is
they
a
will not
splash.
play against
Yep.
Ukraine
After this.
going forward after experiencing racism at a hockey game last
We're not
week.
an election
Reports
splash.
note the hockey
After this
game was
story,
not
don't
the
read it to
only
anybody.
instance of racism that teams at St. Louis Park have experienced. Officials at the St. Louis Park school say they will also
sitting
remove
really good
any
on
new
time.
prayer
Yeah,
banners
okay.
around the
42.
gymnasium.
Cool.
Stay updated
Robin,
to
what's on
UTVS
player
News
2 right
as
now?
this story
Special
develops.
elections.
And go in the facts.
I'm aware of the typo.
Okay, cool.
And Kirby.
Are we going to
Yesterday
show it?
afternoon, Governor Tim
That's
Walz announced
not
a
my fault,
special
that's
Which
election
one?
in the state of Minnesota.
Is it
This
VO?
election will help
Yeah.
really
Edit
two?
Yep.
No, we won't. It's not there, that.
Okay.
U.S. Representative
Thank
Jim
you.
Hagman passed away last week. The special primary election will be held
Now
on
COVID
May
splash to Adam.
Special election on March
Let's
7th.
COVID splash.
For more information, please visit
We're gonna COVID
UTVS.com.
splash to you. Hold on. COVID-19 splash.
I got you. Okay.
Now, for the latest COVID numbers here around the state
Right,
of
go,
Minnesota. Taking a
effect to
look,
CG2,
here for
CG1.
February 23rd. Currently in Minnesota, there are 1,402,000 total cases, 439 positive cases. Today,
Hey,
there are
we recovered well, that's good.
533,149 lab tests recorded. There is now 11,930 deaths
Stand by, Kirby.
since the start of the pandemic.
Ready in player 1.
And take Kirby.
Great job.
COVID-19 pandemic is revealing a large range
Stand by
of
VO to player
health-related
1.
concerns for
Roll
those
it.
who have had the
Take it.
virus. Officials now say people who tested positive for the virus face a higher
Stand
risk
by
of health
Adam
problems
with the
months
CEG.
after recovering. Nature Medicine Journal is basing their research on more than
30
153,000
seconds.
veterans who had the coronavirus. Experts say people who had COVID-19 and are experiencing heart concerns should immediately seek medical attention.
And take Adam.
Good job.
This last weekend in St. Paul,
Stand
two
by to
correctional
effect the
officers were assaulted by an
CG1.
inmate during a routine cell
And
search.
effect.
Both officers were sent to Regions Hospital in St. Paul.
All right, for the
and
tees,
released
we
later that
ready
day.
2 box,
The
ready
inmate who
M1.
assaulted
Can I
the
get some
officers has
music?
been moved to a maximum security
Once we go
prison,
over the 2 box.
and the district attorney is looking
then track
to
player
press
3 for the
charges
break.
on the inmates. Check out the full story on our website at utvsnews.com.
And take 2 box,
When we
music.
return a year after the death
Stand
of
by
Ron
player
Arbery,
3.
where does everything stand?
Don't go anywhere.
And effect.
Coming up tonight on UTVS News, Democrats have come to an agreement on lowering pharmaceutical prices.
And then the Monticello School District finds out the 2021 operating referendum results. We have the details.
But first, Minneapolis votes on whether or not to replace their police department with a public safety unit.
UTVS News starts right now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to UTVS News. I'm Sam Getzinger.
And I'm Joey Erickson. Thank you for joining us. For all of those just tuning in, our news director, Nia Adams, just got done interviewing SCSU President Robin Wacker.
Some of the key topics from that interview were enrollment, an award St. Cloud State recently received, and the main takeaways from Dr. Wacker's TEDx talk that recently happened here in St. Cloud.
We have a lot of other news to talk about tonight, including all the latest election headlines you need to know about.
But first, we'll toss it over to UTVS Chief Meteorologist in Kim Gomez for a first look at the Granite City forecast. Kim, what do we got going on outside?
Yes, Joey and Samuel, as we all know, it has been pretty chilly outside with these colder temperatures, but if we take a look at our weather headlines, that unsettled weather will continue throughout this week. Now, because of those colder temperatures, we will wake up to some fog tomorrow morning in your early morning commute, but thankfully though, temps do bounce back to the 50s this weekend. So if you have any plans, this is the time to do so because it will be pretty sunny this weekend. Now we do have a high of 44 degrees and a low of 27 degrees. Here's a look now into your tonight's lows. 29 degrees averaging up in the Twin Cities. In the teens, we're looking at 18 in Minot, 17 Rapid City, 33 Kansas City, and in Chicago 32 degrees. Now for our cloud coverage, it has been pretty significant for some areas of the state like northeastern Minnesota, and you can tell that there is that lake effect moisture that is currently happening. That is usually generated by the warmer lake waters and some cold air that is moving in, but I will have more on this in my full forecast. Back to you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Kim. We start our election coverage tonight with Minneapolis voters rejecting ballot question 2, which would replace the police department with the Department of Public Safety. Nearly 81,000 residents voted no for 46% of the vote. Over 62,000 voted yes, or 44% of the vote. The ballot proposal would have changed the city charter that required the city to have a police department with a minimum number of officers. Supporters of the charter amendment say an overhaul of policing was necessary to eliminate police violence, while opponents state it would make communities already affected by violence more vulnerable.
With official election results tallied, there are a lot of people either relieved or worried about the future of Minneapolis. WCCO News reporter Susan Elizabeth Littlefield interviewed residents around the Minneapolis area to see what their opinions about the election are.
It's not just any election. This is a big one. A decision that affects every single person who lives, works, or plays in Minneapolis. Who will answer if they call for help? Who will keep the city safe? North Minneapolis voter John Martin says MPD needs to remain in place.
Yes, but I voted no because I don't quite understand it and they don't have a plan. They just put it on the ballot, don't have a plan. So if you're putting someone on the ballot and you want the people to actually vote on it, first of all, they have to understand it.
South Minneapolis voter Carol Caruth agrees.
And I voted no on that because I don't think we should get rid of the police department.
That having the city council there to be in check of the mayor.
In central Minneapolis, Eric Romano says it's time for change.
Obviously, the city has gone through a lot that I believe that it's worth a chance to give another option or another perspective to address the issues that we have.
He supports the push to make a new public safety department.
I believe a public safety department, they should be committed to living in the city as well as caring about the city.
Back on the north side, the pastor of a church that's held funeral after funeral of violence victims says he's using his voice outside of the pulpit.
We need our police department, and it does need reform. We understand that. But to just defund the police or to remove our police chief at this point, at this juncture, doesn't make any sense at all.
Passion from both sides as everyone watches to see who will keep watch over this city.
Also related to Minneapolis, that broke earlier this afternoon, Minneapolis voters have re-elected Mayor Jacob Frey for a second term. After the final round of calculations, Frey won with over 70,000 votes with a final percentage of 56, according to the Associated Press. The closest runner-up, Kate Knuth, had 44%. Frey had more than a dozen candidates run against him for the mayoral race. Frey risked his bid for re-election when he opposed the push to replace the city's police department and faced sharp pressure from more progressive Democrats and conservatives.
Residents in Minneapolis also approved the change to a strong mayor system where the mayor has more power over city agencies. The ballot question was approved with 52% of the final vote, with over 74,000 residents in favor. Many large cities use the strong mayor system, including St. Cloud. Previously, Minneapolis was a weak mayor system where the mayor and the city council shared executive powers.
Wrapping up our election coverage in Minneapolis, residents approved question ballot 3 to authorize rent control. 53% of residents voted yes to the question, which is roughly 76,000 votes to 47% voting no, or nearly 67,000 votes. The ballot question would give Minneapolis City Council the authorization to regulate rents on private residential property in the city.
Now moving to St. Paul, Mayor Melvin Carter won his spot at re-election with a strong lead of 62% to 13%. Carter received nearly 37,000 votes. Meanwhile, Dino Guerin received just below 8,000. St. Paul also uses the ranked choice voting system. With a strong lead above 50%, he was officially declared the winner. Carter made history as the city's first black mayor when he was elected back in 2017. In his first term, he raised the city's minimum wage to $15 and introduced a guaranteed income program. He has faced criticism over garbage collection and gun violence. However, Carter had 7 candidates run against him in this election.
Staying in St. Paul, residents voted unanimously to pass a bill aimed at keeping annual rent increases from going above 3%. The proposal won with 53% of the vote compared to 47%. There are a couple exceptions, being property taxes and taxes from major improvements. This policy is also expected to protect low-income renters from unfair tax increase. People opposing this tax argue that rent control will hurt housing developments in St. Paul, leading to higher rent prices.
Moving to the Monticello region, Independent School District 882 proposed a 3-question referendum, which would help avoid a $3.1 million budget cut. This extra funding would help with educational programming, technology infrastructure, and staffing needs. Combined, the 3 proposed referendum questions would have generated an additional $5.3 million in annual funding, while resulting in an estimated annual tax increase of $370 on a $250,000 home. Shortly after the polls closed at 8 on Tuesday, the results were calculated with Monticello residents rejecting the 3-question referendum. The first question had 1,056 yes votes and 1,842 no votes. Question number 2 had 980 yes votes and 1,914 no votes. And finally, the number 3rd question had 956 yes votes and 1,944 no votes.
A prominent Republican donor charged with multiple counts of sex trafficking will have to remain in jail while he prepares his defense. U.S. District Judge Patrick Schiltz cited a very troubling testimony that Anton Lazaro threatened law enforcement and prosecutors after he was arrested. Lazaro allegedly told Minneapolis police officer Brandon Brugger he knew where he lived and said federal prosecutor Laura Provenzino was, quote, going to regret this. Brugger also testified that Lazaro tried but failed to find personal information about an FBI agent.
The judge who oversaw the trial of Derek Chauvin will release the names of the jury involved. Hennepin County District Judge Peter Cahill will also release questionnaires they filled out during jury selection. The release follows a request made by the Associated Press to make the name public.
A federal jury convicted a former Minneapolis police officer for taking drugs from people and using them for himself. 29-year-old Ty Yindra had 3 separate investigations going on with these incidents. In 2 of the 3 investigations, he filed false reports and failed to mention the discovery of pills. The jury found Yindra guilty of 2 civil rights violations as he conducted 2 illegal searches. Yindra's defense attorneys tried to argue that he threw away the pills, but there was no evidence of that happening.
Eden Prairie police are investigating the death of a woman found in a hotel room along with an injured man. Officers were called to do a welfare check at the Resident Inn in Eden Prairie when they discovered the 2. City spokeswoman says the man suffered significant injuries and was taken to Hennepin County Medical Center. Loren says no arrests have been made and police believe it was not a random attack.
Well, coming up next on UTVS News, Democrats have come to an agreement to lower prices of life-saving medications.
And then the Supreme Court is voting on one of the biggest gun cases in almost a decade.
We'll be right back.
As St. Cloud State students return to campus this semester after a whole year of online learning and with the holiday season vastly approaching, Chartwell's hosted a Friendsgiving Thankful Table event to bring a sense of community that was once lost during the pandemic.
Today we have Friendsgiving, a thankful table, and it's just about bringing the campus community together to have a great meal with friends and colleagues, to give thanks to each other, to give thanks for anything in their lives that they're thankful for, and also to give back to the community. They're welcome to bring in donations for the Huskies Food Pantry here on campus.
Those donations to the Husky Food Pantry are in dire need right now, as there are many students on campus who are feeling the effects of food insecurity and need donations ranging from simple meals to even snacks.
So we're just trying to bring everyone together to just help those in need, especially during the holiday season. Obviously, food donations are needed throughout the year, but the holidays are always tough for students who are food insecure.
If you would like to help donate to the Husky Food Pantry, they are located at Hill Hall and are open from 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Additionally, as students start to prepare for finals, the Thanksgiving Thankful Table serves as a way for students to support each other in a way that they couldn't during the pandemic.
So I think this will definitely help, bring people together. I mean, that's the overall goal of this. So just making sure that, they understand that, even though we are still in the pandemic, we can still get together with friends and colleagues. We can still sit down for meals with each other and just still, do those exciting things that we're used to before the pandemic.
As students finished up eating their meals and started to prepare for heading home, the Thanksgiving Thankful Table was very successful, and many students loved the atmosphere and the traditional Thanksgiving food that was served. With the great success that this event had, SCSU Dining Service Chartwells says they plan to do many more events like this in the future. Reporting in Garvey Commons, Steven Schroeder, UTVS News. The community of Brooklyn Center continues to clash with police as citizens voice outrage in the aftermath of Daunte Wright. Governor Walz had implemented a curfew for much of the Twin Cities Metro Monday, with individual cities, including Brooklyn Center, imposing their own the past couple of nights. The Minnesota Army National Guard and Minnesota State Patrol have been assisting Brooklyn Center police with attempts to keep the protests peaceful. Over the past 2 nights, nearly 100 people have been arrested for breaking city or county curfews. A driver who was struck and killed a pedestrian in St. Paul and then fled the scene has been sentenced to 1 year in jail. Robert Kinney was sentenced on Monday after being convicted of criminal vehicular homicide for the death of John Benjamin back in January. Well, that's just some exciting Twins news. I mean, when you talk about Byron Buxton and Bundy, I mean, that's just, the Twins are going to be off to a great season next year.
Yeah, the Twins are looking really good going into next season. It'll be interesting to see what else they do in this offseason.
And I mean, relating back to SCSU too, I mean, the Huskies this weekend, they're going to be going off for a pretty tough competition, I think, with UND.
Yeah, all of our Husky sports are having a lot of tough competition. The women's hockey team is battling up against Bemidji State, and obviously the men's team has UND coming in here, and this is going to be a key matchup for both of those teams, especially with the men's team facing off against UND.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the last series too against Michigan. The team didn't look so hot, but hopefully they can try to rebound for this series.
I had to pick up vitamin D vitamins just to survive our stunt without the sun.
It has been so gloomy, and I'm just so happy to go on a bike ride this weekend. I cannot wait for it.
I know. I'm very much, you'll go on your bike ride and I'll lay out in the sun. How does that work?
I like that plan. Well, thank you so much for joining us here tonight on UTVS News.
We'll see you back Monday at 4.
Have a good night.